Let's see if L5 is going to walk away with this championship, where the next battleground will take place.
It's already match point.
It is.
That is crazy to think here.
Oh, man.
2-month Spider Queen.
To talk about the history of Tomb of the Spider Queen between L5 and MVP Black,
Lay it on us.
there was a time when L5 would ban Braxis over and over and over again, every single series, and then they get up against MVP Black in Part 2 of Phase 1, and they ban Tomb. And I was like, oh, they've been playing the long game. They know Tomb, and they knew Braxis all along. That's got to be what it is. And I asked Noblesse, and he said, no, we just can't face MVP Black on Tomb. They're way too good at Tomb. And then we get to this, where MVP Black has been struggling time and time again, every single Tomb game, and where does L5 pick to maybe finish it off?
I think Gilly's kind of pumped.
Yeah, I think she is.
It's so cool.
It is very exciting.
It's such a call out.
Yeah, it really is here as we're about to go into Tomb of the Spider Queen. And with that being said, do you think MVP Black can go back to pulling the beast out?
I definitely think they can. I think they had a lot of moments on the last map where they really showed a very good coordination and where they could have pushed it even further. So I actually had them pegged as the winner in the last series. I just think a few of the fights that they took were a bit unnecessary and overly aggressive. But I like their team fighting and the coordination still quite a lot. So a battleground like Tomb of the Spider Queen can really cater towards them if they play towards that aggression again.
Well, Ariel was left unbanned in the last matchup, but I don't think you can get away with leaving her open on Tomb of the Spider Queen. It's one of her best battlegrounds where she can be very effective on. Her movement between the middle and the top lane and the ability to get your hope to really churn out the healing is too effective. But we'll see if MVP Black or L5 decide to risk it.
Uther ban, first of all. Okay, so this time we have a lot of options all of a sudden for both of these teams, with Oriel most likely going to be the next target. We have again a choke towards the supports, but at the same time we have Illidan open, we have Genji still open, and we have a snap Genji lock for MVP Black. They lost one map so far with Genji, and it was against L5 in this very series, but they still believe in the power of the ninja.
Resets Genji is what L5 or what MVP Black now believe in. Going back to something that is at least one comfort for them. We'll see how far that stretches now that they are 3 games down to L5.
The only time that Genji has lost is when Ariel and Tassadar was available, and it was against L5. Ariel, one of the main issues, was taken away here now. So they got to be feeling nice and confident. L5 on the other side, looking towards the Greymane. And the other part of the combo that we did see beat Genji, Tassadar.
Very cool combo to open up with. Greymane excels on the battleground. He offers everything that you want. The burst damage against targets that you isolate. He allows you to go deep into the opponent's backline. And he also has the wave clear if your opponent focuses more wave clear overall. Tassadar, of course. The vision around the turn-in points, always fantastic. And the double support has come into play so many times here already. So this opening for L5 is not only extremely strong, it's also very flexible.
Flexible, bringing in the wave clear, got the damage set up. Can see that Archon later on. I'm still holding out for a force wall game from one of these Asian teams, but yet we have got it, so expecting the Archon.
Yeah, this is the one thing that also disappoints me a bit as well. All the combos where they use Tassadar, Archon made perfect sense, but personally I absolutely love when you have Force Wall chosen on a map with narrow corridors and the team absolutely exploits this. And this is something that we see more so in Europe and North America right now. I would really love if one of the Korean team drafts a composition that caters towards that isolation.
Guys, I mean, Force Wall is pretty cool, but why Force Wall when you can dimensional shift in the backline, Archon up, and throw down? That's how Korea plays Tassadar.
I mean, you're not wrong. Lockdown has been pretty darn impressive on that Tassadar. He inspires me to dive into 5v1, so I may do that once or twice in the future.
Rip. I've gone too far.
You've inspired me. But yeah, I agree with you. The way Tassadar's been played this tournament has been very impressive. I just, you know, I miss the Force Wall, man. I miss the lockdown, the you shall not pass. But we do have Malfurion and ETC picked up. ETC, again, becoming a staple of this tournament. And the reasons why, if you have a support behind you, bringing out the heals, and you're able to get those engages from the fog of war, you can always be impressive.
Yeah, and ETC with the Mosh Pit was also one of the heroes that we saw on the last map, and we talked a lot about him. We had even a situation where finally Mosh Pit went through on a stun circle that got cleansed, but then ETC already cancelling the Mosh Pit because he was afraid of getting stunned, so a bit of miscommunication. But on the last map, MVP Black lacked that mosh pit that they were looking for. We were talking about Hooligan a lot, who had amazing mosh pits. MVP Black still has to show those, but they still believe and trust in their ETC play here. And on Tomb of the Spider Queen, you can do so much with the rotation alone and the isolation that you get with a good ETC slide.
MVP Black just respects Diablo so much on this battleground. We've actually only seen Diablo played once, if I remember correctly, this entire tournament. He lost, but it was by Tempest. But it's actually incredible here that he still continues to get banned out. That's how much they fear the idea of him being on the battleground.
The map alone caters to Diablo. You have with Devil's Due on level 1 so much sustain in any fight that it's absolutely terrifying to go up against Diablo. And of course he gets even more value out of the stuns with Shadow Charge, since there's so many walls around the turning points that you can abuse. So I can completely understand that MVP Black bans Diablo out. Also, because they probably still have a few nightmares about Roll20 and their Medivh Diablo composition.
That's where the source of it all comes from, the MSB.
This is the map.
North America, man, giving nightmares here to MVP Black. And here we have the Nightmares of Death coming in from Malthael and Cassia to finish up the roster from MVP Black.
Full-on aggression is that composition. You have the threat of Mosh Pits, Twilight Dream, Malthael with Tormented Souls, and Cassia and Genji behind it. MVP Black, if they're going out in this game, they are going out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of aggression for them and already catering towards the late game as well. Malthael, played by Rich here, once that he has a chance to jump into those late game fights, he can wreck a team. That's what we've seen, especially in the previous series on Towers of Doom, and he's going to try and show that same ferocity here.
Now, typically when you see a Cassia on the opposing team, you naturally want to be able to move into some kind of mage damage. You'll be able to poke her out if need be. But the problem is, which mage do you move into that Genji doesn't shut down? One that can work on this battleground could be KT.
Yeah, I would also not really mind to see maybe even okay, Serial being taken.
Okay.
That's not quite what I was thinking about here.
Neither was I, but we now have the Tyrael, the certification being online. There's also maybe a Whirl. Can you go? No, no judgment.
That is a lot of protection for Greymane overall. You have the double support, you have the Shields of Tyrael, and the Sanctification. So you really put all of your eggs into the Greymane basket. He has to absolutely excel here.
Sounds like the Summer Global Championship.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I want predictions on this game. We're getting now to tournament point. So predictions?
You go first.
No, you go
I was waiting for
I was waiting for you.
I actually think MVP Black, but I could see a world where L5 shuts down every team fight with the certification into a Murd and being a pain.
Worst
All
cop
right,
out
so
ever,
Trickster
Caldor?
is once again just like trying to play it safe.
dance
I
around
lay
the
it down.
bush.
It's MVP Black who wins here.
All right, let's do it here. Going straight up into this fourth game. It's going to be MVP Black taking on L5, and MVP Black is here on the right in the red. Malthael, Malfurion, ETC, Cassia, and Genji will be their composition.
And they are on the ropes because of their opponents. This team, L5, one game away from becoming the Eastern Clash champions. SCSC, SDE, Jeongha, Hooligan, and Swoi.
Lockdown already starting with that Psystorm build. He just loves it for pretty much any battleground he can move into, but I do enjoy it here on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Relatively easy to stack up on those minions as you move in between multiple lanes, and they are stacking up the minions here on their side. This allows them to be a little bit more defensive. Usually it's pretty good against Stitches and even an ETC where you can play a little bit more reclused on your side of the battleground on that first wave.
Yeah, safety is the name of the game for L5. We talked about it in the draft. MVP Black drafted full aggression, doing what they love, which is just brawl and brawl. With the composition that they have, they'll be looking for those early picks. ETC with the follow-up routes from Kyocha. They are hoping that they can get those early picks, get the first turn in, get a second right after that, and make it an unwinnable situation from there.
There goes the engage. SCSC jumping on top of Rich. He is getting low, and Rich will be the first death of the game here as MVP Black will be losing out on their Malthael.
You know, there's been a couple of times now where L5 have punished Rich in lane, and it almost makes me think back to when they played each other in the league. And Rich bullied Jeongha a lot. I think about Dragonshire with Jeongha playing Dahaka against Rich's Malthael. It almost feels like they're bringing it to Rich a little bit, saying, you are not the only only person. You're not the primary solo laner. We are going to punish you if you play that aggressively.
Yeah, and I mean, there have been rumors where Rich may be in spots where if he gets picked off a couple of times, he might be a little bit prone to tilt, getting a little bit too aggressive, and you're right, that could be something that they are trying to tap into on this matchup. So Malthael will have to be a bit more safer in that bottom lane, as the middle lane will be contested by both of our teams. Looking into so far on the talents, nothing too crazy jumping out for our teams. Stormbolt once again from the Muradin, but we're expecting a lot more here in Korea.
Yeah, a whole lot of building up the Stormbolts for more. It's a Muradin hybrid. He doesn't just want to be a warrior. He wants to put out damage like an assassin at the same time.
SE working on the stacks there, but will have to defend his teammate here as Hooligan is found by Rich and crew. They're jumping on him. He's low on health, and here's Rich jumping in for the fight. MVP Black answering back with a kill of their own.
It is so difficult to run away from a Malthael and a Genji. Two different ways of mobility for a Genji, and then you have Malthael who can continually teleport to you as long as he has Wraith Strike up and his Reaper's Mark on you. It was going to be difficult for Hooligan to get away from that one. But even still, teams very even in this early game.
Especially with their Greymane in the bottom, who did pick up the Giants here to help bolster out that bottom lane. Typically, you want to push that in, which will allow for you to rotate towards the turn-in and drop it off, or even look for a kill in the middle lane. Rich will be spending his time clearing that up, but L5 taking the opportunity to have a man advantage, moves to the top lane, and starts to drop off a few of their gems.
CSC gets stalled out. Kyocha now has the Loon's Grace, which makes that a whole lot easier with his Moonfires. He will be the most consistent person to be able to stall out the turn-in points. Genji is another great one on the side of MVP Black.
Ooh, Stormbolt missing out. Sway came around to help out with the kill, but because the Stormbolt did not connect, Tis was able to drop down a power slide, almost at a polymorph, a power slide there, and get Rhaegar.
HGC Brightwing, they're fairly even.
Super even
they're
heroes.
Pretty much the same.
They look similar, got very similar skins. Same time though, Rich having a hard time in the bottom as SCSC brings in the claw, swipes him to death.
Yeah, that's more than 10 gems dropped from Rich. Reset and crew come in to try to salvage the situation. They're still up against 4. There goes the blind. Sake coming in with a fend, but SCSC has survived.
Last second shield there. SCSC getting away. The turn-in will be dropped in from MVP Black as they do answer back. But in terms of numbers, 31 to 15. L5 has the more gems dropped off, and they are looking to grab that turn-in quicker than their opponents as they continue to drop off whatever they can here. They would love to get those web weavers moving in, open up the battleground, make Greymane be much more effective as he's able to start pouncing on opponents.
I have to say, things so far have not been going to plan for MVP Black. They have the aggressive composition, and yet L5 are the ones bringing the fight to MVP Black. And really, in that bottom lane, to Rich, especially taking him out, and that has lost some gems for MVP Black. It's put them behind an experience, and more importantly, it's kept them at bay from being able to control these rotations and get that first turn-in.
Yeah, most of that comes down to L5 and their movement around that Cassia. The reason why this composition is aggressive is because Cassia in the early game has some of the best trade value for anyone in the game right now. So
True.
Cassia, moving forward, getting those trade the charge strikes is always great for them, but they just don't fight it. Instead, as you mentioned, they keep coming to bottom lane and keep pressuring it in. Rich starting to become aware of this, is playing much more safe, and Resets coming in for the guidance, but Hooligan and crew, every single time they see Rich back up, they look for whoever is trying to rotate in. That time it was Kyocha. They didn't get a pick, but next time it may be one.
Rich staying in the bottom lane, no big change up for MVP Black, even though L5 has made it known that they would much rather come down and try to gank him. The biggest deal is that Reset seems to be playing constantly in between mid and bot now, whereas the rest of MVP Black has a 3-man that's rotating from mid to top. Reset is now hoping to help take care of his friend in Rich, making sure that L5 can't get the same kind of aggressive ganks off.
And so far, it's been working out, as Rich has stayed alive much longer, helping out with the soak. Reset has escapes. You see him there. Dash away as Hooligan comes in for the Stormbolt. SCSC hoping to drop off his gems. He has just enough to unlock web weavers pushing into the lanes, but with Genji on the side constantly with a poke, it's quite difficult to do so.
Change up in level 7 talent for Sake's Cassia, getting War Traveler instead, having a little more safety than favoring the damage of Surge of Light. Oh my goodness, that was beautiful! Stopping the Dwarf Toss and then the roots afterward. Ooh, I would mic drop after that, MVP Black.
Oh, MVP Black getting the kill there as they go ahead and pick it up here as they pick up steam in this match. They're turning around to look for their own turn in. They have 59 gems. They're pressuring that Tyrael out. Tist will be the one to drop off the 27 gems, and that will be enough to unlock the Web Weavers. And with that slight alteration, MVP Black find themselves in a spot where they can push in their opponent.
MVP Black have done it. Behind this, L5 have a lot of the gems already necessary for their first turn-in setup. So this needs to matter for MVP Black. They're taking out the waves, they're pushing them up so that the Web Weavers will spawn right on top of the towers.
And it's going to be 10 for them, too. With the Web Weavers coming in, they'll have a slight window where they can engage on their opponent. Reset finds Hooligan on the side. Hooligan answers back with a hammer, and it's all about clearing up. Luckily for L5, they have decent clear. They have Rhaegar and Tassadar, best supports in the game in terms of clearing out waves, and they have Greymane as well. So they need to watch out for the engage that will be inevitably coming in from MVP Black.
MVP posturing a lot of their focus in the mid lane, focusing on getting as many towers as they can to open up the forts for later sieges, later pushes, later turn-in phases with their Web Weavers. Ball Lightning has been dropped. It's the only heroic ability used as L5 picks up their heroic abilities, and yet again, we get another go for the throat.
Jong on the side with Sanification, threatening a fight. The Web Weaver in the bottom with SESC is going to turn around as Reset goes for the fight, but Reset is answered back, and there's that go for the throat value I've been looking for the entire tournament as he shreds Genji. Rich dropping down the Tormented Souls, a big Twilight Dream.
And they're going to follow that up with a double mosh pit, taking down both Rhaegar and Greymane. Now Hooligan brought back in, falling low. One-man sanctification that Hooligan will walk into, but this is 42 gems sitting on Tyrael.
Jongwa barely gets away. He had to use Sanctification, but that is fine. At least he saved the gems. But still, MVP Black turning that fight around. Rich was the next target. He's the one that does the next best damage for the team. But Tisk taking the opportunity, power slides in, gets the mosh pit, and the Finn comes out for the clear.
There were so many incredible individual plays that fight. I hope that's a replay that Caldor picks. Between the trust and the ancestral healing hitting, that SCSC goes right back in and takes out Reset so fast that Reset can't get out of there. Then Rich comes in with his Tormented Souls and that mosh pit. That mosh pit!
MVP Black is making a case to stay in this series, and of course this tournament, already playing so well as they get another turn-in set up. And remember, this gets to a point where L5 continues to hoard gems over and over again, to where the fear of team fighting actually becomes a real threat. Losing out on the gems makes them lose out on the possibility for a comeback. So MVP Black will be looking to take that pressure and continuing to pressure it.
And with 45 gems being held by Jungha, that's not ideal. He wants to be out in the front line. He wants to be able to tank some damage, and he wants to play aggressively. He's the melee assassin player for the team. He wants to be up in the faces of the backline of MVP Black. And I have no doubt that that will somewhat affect his psychology of how he approaches the next couple of fights until he can get those gems turned in.
There is one issue with the composition that MVP Black has, and that's that their push potential is kind of low. Between the Malthael and the Cassia, Cassia gets in range of forts right away. If she ever gets hit, she gets knocked back, losing out on her trait. So she has to play a little bit on the slower side. And because of that, you saw a full Web Weaver turn-in get absolutely no value. A little bit of damage on the fort, and that was it. L5 defends well, and now they get to hang back, work on 13, while their opponents have to farm up gems again.
Yeah, there is a long bout of time before MVP Black will be able to get those. MVP at least trying to see if maybe they can catch somebody, making some rotations between lanes, deplete the gem count yet again, and scare L5 away. Even start looking toward the 16 talent tier and having that advantage, and a turn-in with that as well, over L5 not being able to have that. They're already playing for the next advantage that they can have in a way of being able to open up the battleground even more, maybe make a play for boss, just get into a better setup.
Gilly, I'm getting worried here. L5 has played this patient style in every single one of their games, and MVP Black has yet to find a moment where they can punish them. Finally, they may have it, though, as SDE will be using his Dimensional Shift twice here to get away from the fight. He had to use Archon. Hooligan's on the side. SCSC with the poke, but Rhaegar finally showing up, may be able to help him contest this 5v5 and fight.
That was the willingness to use Dragon Blade there nearly paid off. They knew the dimensional shift would be down, and it did force Archon, so maybe in that respect it's okay. He felt like he was okay to use it because it was a 1-for-1, but he used it, and he knew that he was going to be able to find Tassadar, but Tassadar gets another dimensional shift. The rotation from L5 came in to save him. At least it was an even trade in heroics.
Yeah, typically you don't want to trade out that Dragon Blade for the Archon, but look at the composition that L5 has. They lose out on the Archon, their damage begins to plummet in team fights. And you look at MVP Black, and they still have 2 other damage dealers that can subsidize that Genji not being available with the Dragon Blade.
Yeah.
So good call there. The trade actually works out for them.
Yeah, good point there. MVP Black stabilizing. L5 is as well. They've got their 13 talents here, but they still haven't been able to get that first turn in. And now MVP Black is getting dangerously close to getting another shot at bringing down L5's forts.
Dropping off the remaining gems they have. This could be an indicator that they are looking for a fight. And speaking about a fight, Zhonghua in trouble. Barely getting away with that El Druins. Man, he is playing with fire all by himself, while the rest of L5 to the bottom right are looking for an engage. SCSC dives in. Rich is here. Tisk with the huge power slide into a Moss, but here's a Sync.
Sanctification helps quite a lot. Tisk not really able to get a lot out of that, but Zhonghua goes down, and that's a lot of gems. Remember, he was holding all of the gems 1-for-1 on the melee players.
But SCSC is able to pick him up. He has 65 gems. We did have Maltheo fall. It's been a 1-for-1 trade.
They're trapped.
Tisk is keeping him stuck here on the corner. Reset gets the Dragon Blade. He turns around. Swoy's looking at him. Members are low.
If L5 did not play patiently, if they weren't able to stay calm in the face of immense danger, L5 would have fallen right there. I don't know how they made it out of that situation. They were trapped like fish in a barrel, and they stayed calm. They took out Rich, and they made it out. They even got Web Weavers. Amazing.
Absolute trust between each individual in that game. Tyrael willing to die, knowing that SCSC could step forward to grab the gems, and the support from Swoy would keep MVP Black at bay. Now, with their first turn in the game, they still have the threat of losing many gems, but at least they get some momentum going now. Here's the problem, though. MVP Black has a big speed bump in their way. 16 has hit, and they have a talent advantage.
Still no Mosh Pit for quite a while. Still no Dragon Blade for quite a while, too. This isn't a horrible situation for L5, but because they have that 16, MVP Black are still willing to strike, and that Touch of Death took away so much of the Ancestral healing.
Exactly here, but Reset also will be traded out. Swoy grabs the gem. Gem transfer complete as Swoy is able to hold on to it. Tisk is the next target here, but hang on. Members are low in the top left. Hooligan taking pressure. Can he get out of the fight? He is low. SDE gives him the shield. 27 gems in trouble. Rich is going to slay everyone in the way.
Oh, no.
The bank of L5 has been depleted. They now have filed bankruptcy as they have nothing available to them.
They made the relay race of gems happen for such a long time, but in the end, MVP Black could not be stopped. And it's this guy right here, Rich, getting in there with the Tormented Souls, applying it to every last member of L5. And 0
this
gems.
Game has just gotten much more difficult for L5. MVP Black at level 17 here moves straight towards the boss and will easily be able to grab it. The good news for L5, at least they still have forts and keeps in the way, but they're going to have to deal with an onslaught of Web Weavers coming in every single lane and a boss in the top.
MVP Black needs to win every single game from here on out if they have any hope of taking out L5 in this best-of-7 grand final. And it starts here. Taking out all of the gems of L5, getting the boss Web Weaver play, and going for kills.
Burden pops Avatar. Zhonghua steps forward right away. It's going to be a 5v5. They're doing their best here to control the boss, but also control MVP Black. Reset on the side continues to poke, and Hooligan and crew will back up, but they have lost out on Avatar.
Avatar down. Tormented Souls back in just 9 seconds. Sanctification as well to help out. The Sanctification has worked before with the Mosh Pit from Tisk. MVP opening up the front gate.
SDE and crew holding down this 4-man at the top. Maltheo pushes in the middle lane and the bottom, but he comes back to the top lane to help out his teammates as they decide to go ahead and move to the middle here. Web Weaver, pretty healthy, a little over half health. L5 continuing to poke it down with that cocktail. Sake and crew not minding being in this front line here. They have Tisk in the top right, anchoring down the fight in case L5 engages.
Man, the siege is just so rough for MVP Black. They had the Web Weavers, they had the boss, and they still haven't been able to get a keep, but you can't blind the structures. L5 hoping that they can get the fight before MVP Black gets 20.
Sank is used, and Rich gets blown up. He's overextended here. Hooligan on the top right is looking for another fight as he's looking for Kyocho on the side. Chain Ball will be used. Tyrion's low, and Tyrion dies.
Twilight Dream, though, and Tist on the back, quietly getting that mosh pit. Tist, though, is the one going down to the siege of SDE, bringing him down. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of L5 so far. Now make that a 2v2.
Genji able to get the reflect there and take out Greymane, but you see the strength of the team fight for L5 if they get the engage they want, and a nice one at that. Tist will get away, but L5 find some breathing room here. Remember, while they haven't gotten any turn-ins, and that's bad news, always look at the positive side. At least they only have to get 55 gems here instead of 65.
It is still a steep climb, but that top and mid are pushed way toward their base, so they have the opportunity to clear out a lot of the waves of minions and be able to get that. The issue is that even though they're going to be able to get gems quite quickly, MVP Black is still gearing up toward 20.
20 is right around the corner here, and it hits. 20 set up for MVP Black. 37 more gems will be needed here before they even have a chance of going for a turn-in, but they have the ability to move in for a team fight. With Tormented Souls coming up in 15 seconds, as well as Twilight Dream, L5 runs back home. They hang out underneath their keeps, and they're waiting for minion waves to come to them as they have to soak 1.5 levels.
Looking at a couple of the Storm tier talents for MVP Black, and the big one I see, of course, the Dragon Becomes Me for Genji, being able to keep up his Dragon Blade a lot longer, but Titan's Revenge is going to be great versus SCSC. He gets armor when he goes into Worgen form, and now her basic attacks ignore the armor, so she can get a lot more damage done to that Greymane.
MVP Black has been slaying in this match, a total of 14 kills to 7, but they have to break through L5's keep line. They have yet to do that. They started moving forward in the middle lane. The defense from L5 was a little too much. And remember, every single attempt they have here at pushing into their opponent is them pushing away forward. They are giving L5 experience.
They have to find an opening. They have to get a keep. They are still gearing up for yet another turn-in, and they have pushed the waves all the way up against L5. Gonna move back, regroup.
L5 2/3 of the way to actually having their second turn in the game as well. But MVP Black finally finding enough gems will go ahead and drop off for the turn in as well, getting closer to that 65 for the Web Weavers. And there it is. So MVP Black going to be moving in for a push. There is 2 ways for L5 to soak, but they have to play so careful. They're hanging out in their base here, and they'll eventually get to 20, but at that point, they'll have 3 big Spider Queens in their face.
This really does feel like the final chance for MVP Black. They have that final talent tier advantage still for a little bit longer, and they have used every gem at their disposal to get these remaining Web Weavers. They have these bruisers, and they are pushing all the way in. They want these Web Weavers to get right on top of the keep and offer no way for L5 to stop it.
Okay, Gilly, here we go. Black in the front line. Rich getting low on health, taking the poke. The Web Weaver tanking the first keep damage here as it goes down. 1 Web Weaver down, 2 more to go. 20 right around the corner. L5 doing everything they can here to hold.
MVP Black can't find a spot to take out a keep. They did at least take down towers here in the bottom lane, so they've got another go at it. The Web Weaver, though, is already halfway dead.
Zhongguo on the front line. 20 is here. Hooligan goes in. He finds Cassia, dropping down the Thunderclap. Rich is low on health. Zhongguo wanting to find the engage to drop the Sanctification.
The Web Weaver taking down the keep, but it's kept alive just barely as the Web Weaver falls, and now MVP Black may get charged on by L5.
L5 have done it. They've defended their keeps. Do they want the fight, though? They are 4 gems away from their own turn-in to start the comeback. If they get an engage, if they take 2 to 3 people down, that's where they can start to open up the map for themselves.
L5 have held on for so long in this game, thanks to their patient play. They had the one spot where they lost every single gem they held, and they have been fighting their way back ever since that moment.
L5 playing safe, sharking around, checking the fog of war. Tist seeing that, does pull away. MVP Black seems to be questioning what they want to do here. There's a couple of plays they have. 1, wait it out and farm up until L5 makes a mistake. 2, siege that bottom lane, but we talked about it earlier. Their siege potential is very minimal. They find a risk if they go for that movement. Instead, they decide to go ahead and deny turn-ins.
Now you can see the fear from MVP Black, but they can't play scared now. Yes, if they lose the game, they will be out, but they have to make something happen. They have the dismount from the Moonburn, but Jungha also has the escape with his Eldrin's Might. We haven't even talked about the boss. Has anyone touched the boss yet?
No one's touched the boss here. It would be too much of a risk, but the moment one person dies, that is the go-to. That is the play you set up for, especially if you can follow it up with a turn-in, as L5 could do. They have Greymane in the bottom lane, so everyone from L5 has to be careful here. I feel like they're actually trying to bait the boss from MVP Black for them to make a mistake. By putting Greymane in the bottom, it makes that idea actually creep into the idea of being a possibility for Black.
There goes the power slide.
Cleanse.
Cleanse gets out.
Torbus hits.
just catches Tassadar.
He's healing him. The Ancestral comes out. Archon will live. Greymane is on the way. This is actually a 4v5, and L5 is holding, but Rich with Tormented Souls.
Tormented Souls hitting a lot, but MVP
Kyocha!
Black is still very low.
He falls!
Reset, or
Here's
he's
Greymane!
down. There's a 1-for-1 as the supports are both down. Cassia has fallen. L5 is a 2-for-2 trade, but L5 every single time is finding another kill.
No way.
They've taken out 4. There's only Rich left.
No way! L5 has done it! They started this fight with a 4v5. They didn't have Greymane, and yet they're able to turn the fight around against MVP Black. They will happily turn around and start to grab the boss. Need to be a bit on the careful side here, as they are missing out on Greymane's health bar, but we have Murden coming up to finally help out. They'll be able to grab a boss and get a turn-in. The game's not fully over yet, but they are setting themselves up here to make a play.
MVP Black is on the ropes in this series, but L5, after being patient, after losing all their gems, can maybe start to get a taste of victory. They hold on to the boss so they could get all healed up.
Gilly, this is the perfect play for them. They're waiting for the Rhaegar. They're waiting for Tyrael. They can even wait an extra 15 to 20 seconds here before they do move in for the fight. Why? So they can get their Ancestor healing back up and Sanctification. They can make an all-in play and move in for the core with Web Weavers and a boss pushing in. The patience, once again, on full display by L5.
All the while, SDE keeping up his Twilight Archon by clearing out the waves so that the Web Weavers will push all the way up. L5 are using this moment with Web Weavers to hopefully take out MVP Black and become the Eastern Clash champions. Let's see if they can do it.
They have found a nail to put in the coffin of MVP Black. Can they hit it here? They're moving forward in the top lane. SDE leading the charge with that Archon that you mentioned.
Boss moves forward. We're at 24 minutes into the game, so this thing is going to chunk. Slaps down a tower, another tower falls, and the gate. L5 moves forward.
Holy ground, constantly being tossed away. He wants to make sure that Greymane cannot be hit with the power slide. Sake takes some damage as SCSC moves forward. Holy ground connecting once again. The keep down to half health.
It's down to half health. MVP Black have to figure out, do they take the fight beyond? They do have all of their heroic abilities. They have Tormented Souls. They have the Mosh Pit. It's just looking for the opening.
SCSE is low on health. Hooligan goes in. He finds Rich. Sanctification will be used. Rich is focused down, and L5 have found a way to deal with Rich. He falls instantly, but he does come back in with a level 20.
Oh, the Mosh Pit was stunned out already, and L5 are being able to take down all of the members, but Greymane has been brought down. So is ETC. It is a 2-for-1 as people are falling one by one.
Reset getting the kills here, and they're able to clear out 4 members of L5. They have to deal with the boss, though. The boss is on the core. It's dropped it down to about 50% here, and they will defend. MVP Black is still in this game.
This game just got absolutely insane.
He's buying time here, Hooligan. He wants to make sure that they keep in the bottom left corner, while it will go down, that it is delayed. He has to be careful here. He drops out a Thunderclap, delaying Malthael, but Cassie would be a target for him too.
26 seconds until Greymane is back, the primary damage dealer of L5. Did Hooligan do enough? Did he stall them out enough?
We're about to find out here. Now, another note too, the keep falls in the bottom right corner, which means catapults will be spawning here. 10 more seconds for Greymane. Rich is on the core. Sake as well. Reset, dropping the shurikens. 5 more seconds for Greymane.
They didn't have the siege, but they believe they can take out the core here. MVP Black bring the core to half health as SCSC spawns, and it does look like they've been able to do it. Hooligan doing everything he can, but the core is at 10%. L5 might have just saved it.
Kyocha, the last one left there. Black, they fall. Everyone falls. L5, they will defend with 9% on their core, and they're going to group up, jump on their mounts, and head straight for the opponent.
The crowd is cheering as L5 with a miraculous hold on the core are able to take out 4 members of MVP Black. Only Tist remains as a way of slowing down L5, but with the core at 52%, he's going to do everything he can, but I just don't think it's going to be enough, Trixler.
L5 with slow, quiet, predictable play has done their best to use patience to be key here for them to earn a victory over everyone in this tournament. They will be your Eastern Clash champions.
Two-time world champions L5 have been neck and neck with MVP Black for the entire year. MVP Black ended up winning the series over them at the last Eastern Clash, but this time L5 were able to take the win.
They're so happy. It's so amazing. These guys played their hearts out in the finals, and that last game was a nail-biter for sure.
The comparison of the new rosters between MVP Black and L5 pretty much made everybody write off L5. They said there was no way L5 could be in top form without their shot caller and the primary aggressor Noblesse, but with SDE and with Hooligan, they have been able to become champions yet again.
They took a massive step, not only with the big, but also the entire way they approached it. The shot calling was so much more on point. And just the discipline in the last series, in the last map alone was fantastic. Those fights were heartbreaking.
L5 was
really got wiped at the opponent's core. Having just the mindset to be able to pull off that defense that in the end led to their victory was incredible.
SDE is so proud to be a member of this roster of L5. He comes in, there's so much pressure on him and Hooligan to perform with world-class players like Swoy, Jung-ha, and SCSC, and they have proven themselves today.
Yeah, not only the new players, also the old ones. SCSC was the one that won the biggest fight for them. He was enabled by the entire team and got reset after reset on his Greymane with the Unleashed. It was a fantastic series for them. And I mean, I am really happy for them. They doubted themselves.
L5 quietly took this tournament by surprise. And on day 3, they show up and do the unthinkable, defying expectations and beating MVP Black soundly in the finals. And we're going to go ahead and get a few questions with them before we let them go and celebrate. So, L5, congratulations on your victory. SCSC, I got to ask you, man, how's it feel to be with this new squad and be performing so well?
우선은 축하드려요. 이제 이스턴 클래스 챔피언 돼서요. 지금 새로운 팀인데 지금 기분이 어떠세요?
솔직히 새로운 팀으로 할 때 저희가 좀 약해졌다는 평가가 되게 많았어요. 근데 그래도 너무 다 잘해줘서 전 팀이랑 비교 안 당할 만큼 되게 다 잘해줬어요. 그래서 되게 기분 좋고 전 이스턴 클래시 때 저희가 블랙카프 졌어요. 그래서 복수한 것 같아서 더 기분 좋은 것 같아요.
We were very, very worried that the team was going to be weaker than we thought it was going to be, but it feels so good right now to just come in and win. In the last Eastern Clash, in Eastern Clash 1, we actually lost to MVP Black, so coming here and winning gives us that feeling of revenge.
Hooligan, one of your newest additions to the roster, has been quite the spark. Any words about him?
지금 홀리겐 선수의 무슨 한마디 좀 해주시겠어요? 제가요? 네.
Go ahead.
Anybody.
Do it.
아무나요.
It's me?
네.
Okay. I can speak English, but I winner and drop the beat. Drop the beat.
That's all to be said. L5, Hooligan and crew, you're champions for the tournament, and we hope that you've enjoyed your time here at the Eastern Clash. Again, another huge congratulations to them as L5 are your champions.
그냥 축하드립니다. You're just ending it? Okay. That's it. Okay.
That's it, guys. We'll be seeing you with more HGC in the coming weeks. But for now, we're all done here. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
We're good?
We're good.